Hello again. Hello. Okay. Yeah?
We have the questions.
Okay, let's start with questions and we'll have a quick set of comments. We have a question at the front. Yes.
It's about bottom line.
Yep.
I know its application to mathematics, but not to environmental studies.
Okay.
Could you explain more about it?
Yeah, it's accountancy. So bottom line, there's no pens for this, but yeah, can we see a pen? But think of an account. Think of a company's accounts. You have your costs and your revenue. Profit is the bottom line. Okay? So having a triple bottom line will be reflecting on what you're doing, what the wider benefits are. Profit is economic, it's financial.
Clear profit.
Yeah? So it's basically, so having a triple bottom line is just at the bottom of your accounts book, at the bottom of your mathematics at the end of the year. Yeah. So it's not, yeah, it's balance. So it's measuring your balance in different ways. So you're not just measuring it purely in whether you made a profit or a loss that year in financial terms, you're understanding it as having a wider kind of footprint. Are you kind of like addressing social needs of your employees, for example? How do you measure that? You might measure it through the provision of healthcare for them. How do you measure your environmental footprint? You have a preferred bottom line. Yeah, so you have a preferred bottom line based on some kind of value which is agreed elsewhere. So you can think about carbon emissions. If you're a water-intensive company, you think about leakage from your pipes. If you're oil and gas, you don't think emissions, you think fugitive emissions, which are emissions through holes in pipes and stuff like that. So that's where the triple bottom line comes from, it's just widening it to include not just profit or loss, but wider variables, wider products. And you're welcome. Any other questions for me? Any comments on the readings? Yeah?
Well, on the document of 1 month, we can see a table about the frequency of actors mobilizing for environmental justice. We can see a list of jobs. We can see a list of jobs and how many times they mobilized for that environmental justice. Mm-hmm. And we can see that women is part of them. So I was wondering, like, how did they measure it? Like, are all of the others men, or did they just mobilize as ecofeminism?
They would be mobilised usually around gendered issues. Okay, and I spoke in a lecture the other day about how we see that in natural disasters, such as tsunamis and earthquakes, that women are much more likely to be vulnerable, much more likely to die in certain events. And what we often see with environmental justice movements in particular is that they have a gendered component. Environmental justice moves in terms of class, in terms of race and ethnicity, but also in terms of gender. And they're not just eco-feminist movements, they are movements for environmental justice, they are movements to address inequality, but it's the recognition that inequality in terms of gender also moves in environmental ways as well. And this is an additional kind of thing about the triple bottom line, is that we often think of inequality in terms of social inequality, so being able to go to certain places and have certain freedoms, or economic inequality, having certain incomes, paying certain costs, but we can also think of it in an environmental way as well. How are environmental resources shared, and how is risk or vulnerability shared as well? Any other questions for me? Yeah?
I have a question that bothers me for a long time now.
Okay.
We know.
No pressure.
We know that the green economy concept was initially introduced by academia in the 1980s, 1990s, but it gained momentum after the Rio +20 conference, when the flagship report of the United Nations Environmental Program was published, which was called Towards the Green Economy. And now, as we see, it just disappeared from all websites of the UNEP, and now it's literally impossible to find this report. There were two versions of this report. The first one, which laid foundations for the green economy, it was very complicated. It contained different economic theories, etc. The second version was only for policymakers, and now only the latter can be found. So, what do you think? What were the reasons behind the desire of UNEP to delete this report? Perhaps the sustainable development concept, some kind of replaced, superseded the green economy concept, because the United Nations and the member states couldn't focus on two theories at the same time. What was the reasoning?
I'll be honest, I didn't know that. I didn't know that these reports were disappearing. I would say that when reports such as disappear, it is the concept going out of fashion, but also the potential embarrassment caused by that concept being present still. I'm happy to look into it and let you know, but it's not something I know a lot about. That's news to me. Is that the report just in Russian or in all languages?
In all languages. In Russian as well. So they translated it in every language, official language of the UN, and then it just disappeared. It's kind of weird.
It's very weird. Read into that as you will, but concepts do go out of fashion. Sustainable development is a very rare case of a concept being dominant for so long. I would say that with the green economy, as it might be going out of fashion at the UN, but we're seeing it being implemented in more and more state policies. I do not think that one is superseding the other. I personally see them as going hand in hand, with the green economy being much more of a focus at that subnational level. Sustainable development is an umbrella. Anything can be classed under sustainable development, and it's also something which, because it's been around for so long, everyone agrees with it.
Perhaps green economy concept is not that universal. It doesn't include human rights, social issues like the sustainable development.
Yeah, perhaps that's, Perhaps it's more targeted in who it affects and who it approaches. It's a very good point. Any other questions for me? How are the readings for you? Did anyone get to do some reading? Yeah, head nod is fine here. What did you read?
Bina.
Good?
I like this idea about different discourses for treating environmental problems.
Yeah.
Limits approach and sustainable development approach.
Great. Anyone else? Any comments? Yeah?
I read an article about environmental justice movements.
Yep.
I was literally amazed at how many different movements across the globe appeared during the last decade, and how actually efficient they are in terms of dealing with local problems, but at the same time they kind of have global implications because they draw attention to the problems of environment, and at the same time of social justice, equality, gender equality.
Yeah.
And that is something that takes place not only in developed countries, but also in developing countries like in Brazil. There were many examples given in the article. So it's a real tool for dealing with local problems.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a really nice summary for this lecture, actually, and the fact that when you look at these alternative movements, at these emergent alternatives and kind of like transformative sustainabilities, transformative development, is that they reground things in the local. But the argument here is not that these issues can be solved locally. It's by looking locally we can see emergent directions forward, but also the problems which need to be solved as well. In the second half of today, in about an hour's time, we'll be meeting to go through a more kind of interactive task. This is the last time you're probably going to hear me speak for a while. No, it's not. I'm going to talk later on. We're going to be talking about the Russian INDC. Now, I've provided that in both English and in Russian, depending on what you want to read, in the shared email address that's been set up. It's only a couple of pages long. The next workshop is going to be divided into me talking for a bit, you reading that, and then you discussing with each other what policies you want to implement. Because we're likely in a lecture theatre, we're going to keep it in twos. However, I'm going to then ask you to stand up and tell us what policy you thought of and what problems and benefits you associate with it. Is that all clear? Fantastic. I will let you go. Have a nice hour and see you later on. Thank you.